This is Bloomberg Businessweek Daily, reporting from the magazine that helps global leaders stay ahead, with insight on the people, companies, and trends shaping today's complex economy, plus global business, finance, and tech news as it happens. Bloomberg Businessweek Daily with Carol Massar and Tim Stenivek, live on Bloomberg Radio, television, YouTube, and Bloomberg Originals.
Adam Mosseri in conversation with Kurt Wagner of Bloomberg News. We are live at Screentime. It is Bloomberg Businessweek Daily. That's Carol Massar. I'm Tim Stenivek. In that conversation, Carol, there was this amazing moment where Adam Mosseri was talking about the different ways that people use Instagram today. And he asked the audience to raise your hand if you use Instagram. If you have Instagram, keep your hand raised if you message somebody, keep your hand raised if you posted on a story, and keep your hand raised if you actually posted something in your feed, in the grid.
All the hands
went down. That's how Instagram started. It was just this platform where you posted something in the grid and you had a feed. That's not the way it's used anymore. And what he was illustrating was we have to evolve with the way that people are using this platform, or else we're going to be left behind.
I feel like it's what we talked with Samira over at AWS earlier about engagement. Everybody who creates content is thinking about how do they engage more and more, because there's monetization in all of that.
Yes, Samira Bakhtiar of AWS.
Exactly. And so I feel like that plays into what is a very, very big theme. You are listening and watching. We are across radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. This is Bloomberg Screentime live in Los Angeles. Coming up, folks, you are going to hear from Jimmy Kimmel. He was live here last night, kicking off some of the big conversations at Screentime. So he's coming your way in just a moment.
Also, entertainment lawyer and dealmaker Tom Ara, we're going to hear from him. He's partner at Weil, Gotshal, and Manges on shaping Hollywood's business models.
Okay, yes, indeed. I watched the morning show. Mark Duplass is on it, but it's not the only thing he does.
No, Togetherness on HBO was one of my favorite shows. They canceled it after 2 seasons. I was so depressed about it. It's a great show.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's like many years ago.
Okay, not depressed anymore.
3 kids. Great show.
But he's an actor, he's a producer, he's a director, so he's a triple threat. We're going to get into that. And then a big part of what we do here at Screentime, Bloomberg Businessweek puts out a Screentime ones to watch list. These are the folks that you're going to have on your radar in the years to come. They are setting out the new trends when it comes to content creation, everything else that we're talking about here at Screentime.
We got a great 3 hours coming up here on a Bloomberg Businessweek Daily. Should we send it back to New York?
We got to talk about the markets. That's our bread and butter here at Bloomberg Businessweek Daily. Off to New York we go, and to Charlie Powell.
Thank you very much indeed. We got you covered on markets. So the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ, all in the red. A lot of investors are wondering if this stock market is overheated, given the recent gains, recent records that we have seen today. A lot of red on the screen with the S&P down 32 right now, retreating from a record at 6720, drop there of 0.5%. The Dow right now down 294. On the Dow Industrials down 0.6%. The NASDAQ Composite Index down 101, decline there of 0.4%. And our Mag 7 Index is tumbling by 0.5%. The 10-year currently yielding 4.14% with a 2-year 3.59%. Gold pulling back from a record down 2.1% today with the precious metal at $39.58. But interestingly, silver keeps on going. Silver up today by 0.3%. $49.04 for an ounce of silver, was trading above $51. We haven't seen a move above 50 in several decades for silver. Bitcoin right now down 1.7%, 120,868 on Bitcoin. You watched him, you heard him live from Screentime here on Bloomberg. Paramount Skydance CEO David Ellison declining to comment on reports that he's interested in buying Warner Brothers Discovery, but he did make the case for more consolidation in the entertainment industry. Paramount Skydance shares, they're down now by 2.8%. Warner Brothers Discovery lower now by 0.9%. Again, recapping, stocks lower, S&P down 0.5%. Yes, we are live at Screentime. I'm Charlie Pelleton. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Charlie, thank you so much. Yes, indeed, we're here on the West Coast. Safe to say one of the most anticipated conversations happened last night. It was when the host of ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Tonight, Jimmy Kimmel, appeared here on the big stage, Tim.
It was awesome. He talked with Bloomberg's Lucas Shaw about being off air, then back on, before a live studio audience here at Screentime. Check it out.
How long after the initial episode where you made the comments about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the Monday episode, did you realize there was a problem?
I didn't think there was a big problem. I just saw it as, distortion on the part of some of the right-wing media networks, and I aimed to correct it. I have problems like all the time, and it's kind of funny because sometimes you think, oh, this is not a problem, and then it turns into a big problem. And then sometimes it goes the other way where you think like, oh, this is going to be a problem, and nobody really notices.
And so at what point did you realize this was a problem?
I think when they pulled the show off the air. I was like, well, that's unusual.
Yeah. And what were the conversations with Dana and Bob that led to that?
I hate to disappoint you, but they were really good conversations.
Yeah, I'm not asking for you to blame anyone.
I mean, really good conversations. They are. These are people that I've known for a long time, and who I like very much, and who were, who wanted. We all wanted this to work out best. And I will tell you, first of all, I ruined Dana's weekend. It was just nonstop phone calls all weekend, but I don't think the result, which I think turned out to be very positive, would have been as positive if I hadn't talked to Dana as much as I did, because it helped me think everything through, and it helped me just kind of understand where everyone was coming from. I can sometimes be reactionary, I can sometimes be aggressive, and I can sometimes be unpleasant, and I think that it helped me. Really having those days to think about it was helpful.
Okay, I have a dumb question about this. As someone who was kind of reporting on it in real time, trying to figure out what's happening, so the show goes off the air, you have all these conversations, and when you all made a decision to put the show back on the air, as my understanding at the time was, it still wasn't exactly clear what you were going to say. They still hadn't resolved the issues with the affiliates. So what do you resolve in those conversations to know you're going back if you haven't figured out a lot of the things that come out of it?
I think just the spirit of what I'm going to say rather than specifically what I was going to say. And I think that's something that we all agreed on. And I think that ultimately I wanted to kind of cover every base if I could. And sometimes you can do that and sometimes you can't do that. And it was something really that had to come from inside me. It had to be truthful, and I had to lay it all out there and just be honest about what I was feeling and what I'd experienced. And I think I did, and I think that it probably went about as well as it could go. I knew that it wasn't going to be perfect, and there were always going to be people that didn't like it and didn't accept it. But the important thing to me was that I was able to explain what I was saying, what I was trying to say.
Because you felt like your initial comments had been mischaracterized.
I didn't feel like it was.
They were.
It was intentionally and I think maliciously mischaracterized, yes.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have become more political in your commentary on the show over the course of hosting it?
What do you think?
I think yes. I think if you talk to me when my first interaction with Jimmy Kimmel was the Man Show.
Yeah.
Which is you and Carolla, who at this point, as best I can tell, are on complete opposite ends of the political spectrum, but still friends.
Yeah, very good friends, yeah.
And it feels like you became far more comfortable and insistent on talking, not just about politics, but about personal things. Mm-hmm. Maybe because you got older, maybe because you got more comfortable in the role, maybe because the world around has changed, all of those things.
Yeah, all of those things for sure. I think maturity is part of it. I think you figure out who you are. I think that when I started the show, I was mostly, my homepage was ESPN.com. It's kind of all I really cared about was sports.
Because you've been a radio sports guy.
I've been a sports guy. I did football picks on Fox NFL Sunday for years. In radio, I was on K-Rock with Kevin and Bean. I was mostly interested in sports, and I was interested in politics. I've always been even as a kid, my parents are very liberal. I've been a Democrat since I was a little boy. I think the first political cartoon I ever drew was of Jimmy Carter and John Anderson. It was like I was like 12 or something, and I've always been interested in politics, but I was never a particularly political person. I also think maybe you did, but maybe you didn't have to be back then. I mean, I think this is a very different situation that we're in now, and also my job, as I see it, is to talk about the news of the day, and these are the big stories of the day, pretty much every day.
All right, that, of course, was Jimmy Kimmel last night with our own Lucas Shaw up on the big stage, the theater here at Screentime, and really addressing what has certainly been in the news the last couple of weeks and being pulled off air, then going back on air. But it's really sparked a broader debate about certainly freedom of speech and what comedians, which typically politicians are a target, right?
Yeah.
Many say comedians kind of keep everybody honest.
Different this time around, though, than it has been in years past, as we saw with Jimmy Kimmel. He made a lot of news in that conversation with Lucas Shaw. He thought that his late-night show was actually going to be over after ABC suspended it following those comments that he made. He also said those comments were intentionally and maliciously mischaracterized by the political right.
Yeah.
That today, after that conversation, getting a lot of play, too, with a lot of folks picking up those comments as well.
Well, I think everybody's looked so closely at exactly what he said against kind of our broader narrative that we've heard from various different people.
Check out the full interview. If you did miss it, you can do that at Bloomberg.com and also on the Bloomberg terminal.
Kimmel did say he would invite President Trump to come on air, but he didn't think he would put an invitation out to FCC Chair Brendan Carr. Maybe not a surprise.
Maybe not yet.
All right, folks, if you missed any of that conversation, as Tim said, check it out on the Bloomberg. Kimmel, definitely a highlight here at Screentime, but so too are the individuals and voices that Bloomberg Businessweek specifically single out. They call it the Screentime Ones to Watch list.
They're highlights of directors, artists, executives, entrepreneurs, musicians, and others. They're reshaping the business of entertainment. What they're doing is putting their stamp on culture. They're changing our perspective of Hollywood, technology, and the creator economy.
Our next guest is on that list. Check this out. Her videos have gotten more than 2 billion views, posting 3 videos a week, all of which are installments of series such as Vampire Siblings and The Messy Group Chat. They span genres, teen romance, family comedy, science fiction, sounds like she does it all, and feature predominantly black actors, earning her the nickname the Tyler Perry of YouTube.
We've got with us Kinigra Deon. She started the channel back in 2019. She joins us here on Bloomberg Businessweek.
Congratulations.
Daily at Screentime. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good.
You have an amazing origin story.
Yes.
This was not your full-time job for a long time.
No.
You were in a lab.
I was a clinical laboratory scientist. I moved to LA in 2018 for a promotion. I met some creators. I learned that they were monetizing and making money from YouTube. And honestly, at the same time, I discovered my passion and I started creating.
Wait, so you just were like goodbye science background?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't like goodbye. It was like during COVID, I was like, okay, I can focus on this, but I didn't quit my job because I wasn't sure yet.
Right.
But what I started doing once I became consistent and the money, my ad revenue was coming in, it was, yes, goodbye job.
How quickly does it ramp up? Because I think I'm kind of blown away by, there's a lot of content creators and there's a lot of outlets that you can easily do it, right? You've got a phone, anybody can be a content creator. How quickly did the revenue start to ramp up?
So I will say, it depends on what, okay, so when I first started, it took me maybe a month to monetize, but that's when I started being consistent.
Yeah.
After monetization, I want to say a full year. No, it wasn't even a year. Maybe 3 months. It was like I was now making what I was making from my job. I still didn't quit yet because I wasn't sure.
Right.
And then when COVID happened in 2020, that was like where everything changed because now everyone was focused into the room. They had nowhere to go. They had to watch us. And so from there, I remember making my first $20,000. And it was like, I could quit this job, but I still wasn't sure. And then in August, one time I made $50,000 a month just from ad revenue. And then I said, when my savings was like at a certain amount, I can quit this job. And so then I quit. And then I was in LA and I was like, you know what? I could do this back home. I could take Hollywood home. And so I casted my family. It was like my mama, my daddy, my sister, my nieces, and then made them all become creators. So every last one of my family members are creators. They have their own channels. Some of them have millions of followers. So we created this creator ecosystem.
We're going to talk about some news that you had from earlier this year. It's pretty incredible. You signed this production deal with Kevin Hart's media company.
Yes.
I'm curious how you are staying connected to your audience even as you grow, because audiences are really fickle.
Yeah.
They're not loyal all the time. How do you make sure that you keep giving them what they want, even though they don't know that they want it, even as you get bigger?
Yeah. Well, see, I think my audience is really loyal. They are. They support everything that we do. And it's crazy. Like, I was telling some people, I'm like, I don't experience negative comments. Like, I don't. But even if I do, it maybe one. But it's not negative in the sense of talking bad about us. It's like, you didn't post yesterday. Where are you doing? We were waiting. I was waiting. You didn't even tell us you wasn't posting.
What is this universe you live in? I really like this. The lack of negativity.
You can't leave.
Yeah. So the more we grow with our audience.
Yeah.
It's like our audience, they've been watching us since they were young. They're growing up with us. And so they are supporting us. They're excited about everything that we try, anything new. Sometimes I play with stories that I'm like, people are probably not going to understand this story. And it ended up being like one of our best series, like Messy Group Chat. I literally was like, you know what? Some of the kids, like my nephews, and then my daughter-in-law, my step-baby, she's 17, and they have like their friend group. And I'm like, the Messy Group Chat, this is a great idea because I see them texting in side groups. And I'm like, I'm going to create this. I don't know where it's going, but it ended up being one of our biggest series.
Well, it sounds like so much of life really inspires you. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Because that's what I was thinking about content creation. I mean, it's fun. It's, but it's work.
Yeah.
And especially once you get something going. Like your team now, you have a lot more people helping you.
Yes.
Tell us about how the business has grown.
Yes. So when it first started, it was all family. So honestly, I taught my family how to film, how to edit. So they were editing and filming for me. And then out of that, we needed some people who were a little bit more knowledgeable than us. So we contracted cinematographers from Atlanta, sound guys from Atlanta, gaffers. And then now we have a full in-house production team. So that includes 2 cinematographers, 2 gaffers, 2 sound, enough to run a production, 2 productions if we want to. And then we still contract people from Atlanta to come and film. Editors, we have 2 main editors.
Are you working with Tyler Perry?
I can't wait. I'm gonna claim that. Not yet. I'm gonna claim that. What's crazy?
Well,
he had this dream.
He's close by.
He had this dream program, and I applied to it, and I was one of the ones who got in. And I was like, yes, I'm in. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do the whole thing. But then they needed like Saturdays to like get on a call and kind of like talk. And I'm like, I film on Saturdays. This probably isn't a program that I can really be a part of. So I ended up saying I can't be a part of the program, but I was really trying to get in the door with Tyler Perry.
So if he's listening.
If you're listening.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're here.
I saw him one time at Beyonce's concert, and he waved at me, and I was like, I need to talk to you. And he was like, me? And he was like, yeah, but then he just did a wave. So who knows? That was the moment.
Maybe you just missed the call. Maybe you just missed the call.
Yeah.
The conversation here has been a lot about the pressure that Hollywood has been under in recent years. It was a big part of the conversation with the mayor, Karen Bass, yesterday. And I'm just wondering, when you look at the overall business, I don't think we can separate the idea of content creation from like mainstream studio production.
True.
Would you say that the area where you are right now is the area of growth when it comes to content?
Yeah, I call it the new Hollywood.
Yeah.
Content creators now, we are running media production companies. Every creator that I'm friends with, they truly have employees. They're running, they have ideation, everything, like every single part of traditional media, they have a section in that. The only difference is we have learned how to wear multiple hats. I know how to edit, I know how to direct, I know how to write, I know how to do everything. And so I think that's what the biggest growth is that we have learned how to run every single part of the Hollywood business. So we're able to scale a lot faster and a lot quicker and grow a lot bigger. And we're connected to our audience.
Well, and I will say, check out Bloomberg Businessweek, the latest edition, because she has signed a production deal with Kevin Hart's media company, and she did begin shooting a feature film debut. So while she is part of the new Hollywood, she's also kind of embracing the establishment as well.
Yes.
Kinigra, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kinigra Deon joining us here.
Hey, coming up next on Bloomberg Businessweek Daily, we are going to be joined by one of the deal makers who's shaping Hollywood's business models. First, though, let's send it back to New York for a check of the day's trade, top business stories, and some breaking news. Here is Charlie Pell.
Thank you very much. Just getting word from Hamas, specifically its negotiating chief, has announced a deal to end the war with Israel. Also says Hamas has agreed to a hostage release. Again, the headline right now on the Bloomberg Professional Service. All of this as Israel has begun implementing a ceasefire deal in Gaza after reaching an agreement with Hamas for the release of all hostages held by the Palestinian militant group. Also, the United Nations laying out a plan for Gaza aid and support after the ceasefire accord. But again, the headline breaking right now, Hamas's negotiating chief has announced a deal to end the war with Israel. U.S. stocks trading lower. We have got the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ very much in the red. Slight bounce off the bottom, but still declines for the major benchmark industry, the indices and averages. With the S&P right now down 0.4%. We got the S&P tumbling by just about 38 points right now, 67.28. We have got the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 275, drop there of 0.6%, while NASDAQ is lower by 0.4%. The 10-year currently yielding 4.14%, with the 2-year 3.59%. Gold down 2%, now $39.63 the ounce. Again, trading under $4,000. West Texas Intermediate crude down 1.7%, $61.49 a barrel. And silver is trading at $48.80 after briefly moving above $51 the ounce. After earnings, Delta Airlines shares, they're rallying now by 4.7%. Again, recapping, stocks lower, S&P down 0.5%. Yes, we're live at Screentime. Once again, your hosts of Bloomberg Businessweek Daily, Carol Masser and Tim Stanovic.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Charlie Pellet, thank you so much, and we will take it back. And, of course, as Charlie mentioned, big headline, Hamas negotiating chief announces a deal to end the war with Israel. And, of course, this is a story that we all hear, whether you're on the East or West Coast, if you're around the globe, we are following it, and we'll bring you any more news as it happens.
We're on site here in Hollywood at Bloomberg Screentime. This is the third annual event. And, Carol, global deal values have topped $1 trillion in a third quarter. This only for a second time on record. This is according to data compiled by Bloomberg, thanks to transactions like the recent $55 billion take-private deal of the video game maker Electronic Arts. The consortium includes Silver Lake Management.
Yeah, and then there's Skydance buying Paramount, and we heard from David Ellison, Warner Brothers Discovery. He wouldn't comment. Anyway, Tom Era is an entertainment lawyer and deal maker. He is in the middle of all of this. He's a partner at Weil, Gotshal, and Manges, and he's vice chairman of the Indian media company Geostar, and he joins us here at Screentime. How busy are you?
Doing great, thank you.
Welcome.
The energy here is unmistakable. This is such a wonderful event. It's a pleasure to be part of it again. And very busy. I mean, I think the second half of the year has really been a turning point for M&A and activity with investment in the industry and capital taking a new and fresh look at opportunities and consolidation.
Why is that? Is it because of where we are in the cycle? Is it because of a different administration? Is it because of potentially lower rates on the horizon? Like, what is it?
I mean, I think...
And you could say yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah, I would check all those boxes.
Or no, no, and no.
I would check all those boxes, and I would say there's a lot of capital, I think, that is on the sideline that wants to deploy, or in some cases needs to deploy, where the industry, entertainment, media, and sports, is changing. It's become a scale and story economy. You need scale, and you need very valuable, durable IP. Scale requires capital, and durable quality IP requires capital. So I think the meeting of those two needs to happen at this time for there to be persistence and survival of some of the segments of this industry.
Where do you see the money for that coming from this quarter and into 2026? Is it all about sovereign wealth?
I think sovereign wealth will play a role. I mean, I think you've mentioned some of the recent sovereign wealth activity in the video gaming space. But I think private equity is playing a role. There's certainly, you mentioned Silver Lake and others, Redbird, who was part of the consortium on the Paramount deal. Family office, I just had a conversation with the head of one of the major family offices about family office's role. I think there will be a play there. So it's a combination of sources, not just one.
Wait, I just want to make sure, was that conversation part of the Screentime event?
It was, yeah. It was with the CIO of the Stewart Trust.
He's going to be joining us a little later.
And he's going to be joining you, and you'll hear his perspective as well.
Is it about companies, though, in the public space wanting to still stay public? We heard that from David Ellison, like the value of being a publicly held company. Or is a lot of it happening where you're going to see more things happening in the private space, or both?
I think both. I mean, look, for entertainment in particular, it's very difficult to be a public company, you know, live and die by quarterly earnings, because entertainment, particularly the film industry, is not so quarterly based, right? You have to have a long view. You have a lot of upfront capital expenditure, and the payoff is over months, years, and so it's difficult to really be able to appease public shareholders in that environment. So being private gives you a lot of advantages, taking risks and being able to not make decisions because you're trying to appease a quarterly report.
Tom, one of the things I'm wondering too, and just kind of in prepping and planning for this, and you know, we've seen Tilly Norwood and AI generated character, and it's pretty phenomenal. I mean, do you see with maybe some of the younger, newer startup media and entertainment companies or AI media related companies that we will have kind of a fully AI studio of some sort in the future?
I don't think it's out of the question. As I said on the close when I joined your colleagues there, I think AI is and will continue to reshape this industry, and I do believe that there will be the advent of some of those studios, but I also think for the traditional companies, those that embrace it will find tremendous efficiency and opportunity. You have to respect the creator. You have to respect the community that built this foundation, and I think that balance is where the magic's going to happen.
Just 10 seconds on the ecosystem right now, the pressure that Hollywood is under. Is it going to get better?
It's a challenging time indeed. I'm hopeful that it will get better. I'm certainly one of those people that always is optimistic. I love this business. I've been in it for almost 30 years. So yes, my answer is yes.
Tom, so glad we got some time with you. Wish we had more, so hopefully we can grab you at some time in the future.
My pleasure.
Tom Era, he's a partner at Weil, Gotshal, and Manges, and vice chairman of the Indian media company Geostor. Just want to mention, Israel has begun implementing a ceasefire deal in Gaza after reaching an agreement with Hamas for the release of all hostages held by the Palestinian militant group. We're covering that as well, and we are at Screentime. This is Bloomberg.
It's 2:40 on Wall Street. We do check markets all day long here at Bloomberg. We begin with a developing story headline moments ago on the Bloomberg Professional Service. Hamas's negotiating chief has announced that the group has agreed to a deal that would see the end of its war against Israel. Now, this is according to a video message that aired on Al Jazeera. Hamas also said it agreed to open the Rafah crossing for the entry of aid. U.S. stocks are trading lower. The Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ very much in the red. The S&P 500 index getting another reality check as the rally falters. S&P down 31, down 0.5%. The Dow is down 0.6. Right now, NASDAQ down 0.4%. Our Mag 7 index also down by 0.4%. 10-year at 4.14%. Gold down $80 the ounce, down 2%. And West Texas Intermediate crude down 1.8%, 61.40 a barrel. Bitcoin down now by 1.9%. We're live at Screentime. Back we go. Once again, your hosts, Carol Massar and Tim Stenovic.
All right, Charlie, thank you so much. One note, our last guest, Tom Era, partner at Weil, Gotshal, and Manges, not vice chairman of Geostar. So we just wanted to lay it out. There's a lot coming at us, and all these guys are working together, but he is not that. And
he was surprised about the promotion.
He's like,
the additional job.
Congratulations. No, not the case. Hey, one thing that we noticed as we think about everybody talking about content creation here, and we think about kids on screens. Earlier this year, Catherine Page Jeffrey, she's a lecturer in media and communications at the University of Sydney, author of Parenting in a Digital World. She wrote a weekend essay for Bloomberg, and she talked about how global social media bans for children ignore the reality of digital life, and we see countries increasingly doing these digital bans. And she says that parents are better served developing social literacy skills than trying to recreate their own childhoods. provocative. Sounds like we're setting up for a debate. Hey, this week in our weekly Business Week Women's Health segment, where we focus on key issues in developing technologies impacting the present and future of women's health around the world, we wanted to tackle the issue of kind of everybody's health when it comes to a digital world, Tim.
Yeah, we've got with us the doctor and psychologist, Kiniisha Sinclair-McBride. She's Associate Chief of Integrated Behavioral Health at Boston Children's Hospital. She's also an assistant professor of psychology at Harvard Medical School. She also does work for Boston Children's Hospital Digital Wellness Lab. She joins us from Boston. Doctor, welcome to the program. I just want to understand, when you think about overall health, to what extent is screen time a part of that conversation?
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. And health and screen time are really connected. Well, we think about mental health care and physical health care as a whole child approach. And so when it comes to social media and screen time, we are concerned about the connections with mood, depression, anxiety, body image, experiences of bullying or harassment. And then on the physical side of things, concerns about sleep and impact on physical activity and getting things done during your day.
So what's the right conversation to have with parents? I think about this a lot. And we were kind of strict with our daughter. She's 22 now.
But it was a different world then.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Truly.
20, right, that many years ago.
Yeah.
But having said that, increasingly as she got older, I mean, everything, even schoolwork and assignments and interaction with teachers, it all happened digitally. And so she had to be on those platforms. But how do we, in a society, I love what this weekend essay by Catherine Page Jeffrey about, learning how to have the right digital conversation with your kids.
Exactly.
How do you advise parents on all of this?
So that's the number one thing. I really love the idea of we're not going to be able to create the childhoods of the past. We live in a digital world. So the focus can't really be on limiting or having kids not use screens. It's what you're doing, the content, how you're viewing it. How can you be critical? And so I teach families to really just ask them thoughtful questions to their kids about what are you looking at? How does it make you feel? Do you feel happier, more stressed? And who's made this content? What are they trying to sell you? What does it do to put your attention here? So those sort of thoughtful pieces of kind of how is this impacting me? How is this connected to my mood and why? As well as thinking about what is real and how do you figure out what are good sources and how to analyze what you're looking at.
I think that is going to increasingly become such a bigger
agree.
part of our world. What is the right way for parents to approach this? I mean, Adam Mosseri was from Instagram was on stage here at Screen Time essentially saying we have to teach our kids that what you see on the screen is not necessarily what's happening in real life. What is the right way for us to talk to our kids about this?
I think that we should start off kind of keeping things light because parents get so stressed out and nervous about this. So I say, first of all, just ask a fun question like, what's the best or funniest or most interesting thing you've seen on social media lately? And then from there, the parents can ask more questions about frequency of use, what platforms their child uses, what content they consume. So that gives you kind of an opening. And then you can get a little bit more serious in terms of, what would you do if you saw something that was upsetting? Kind of listen non-judgmentally, be open, and let them know that they can come to you and talk to you if they have any concerns.
I find it interesting, this, digital wellness lab, and I am so curious about, I know you're involved in it and may not know all the work that they are doing, but give us some insight into some of the projects that they're working with or some of the concerns that they have. And maybe there's also some, I don't want to be all negative.
Right.
I live on this too, and I find it super helpful. I'm curious about some of the work that you guys are doing there.
So I'm a consultant for the lab, and there's so much cool things happening when it comes to advocacy, new research, and working directly with youth. I think that's one of the most exciting things is the kind of the youth advisory board is kind of talking to different companies in this space and letting them know how kids really experience them. And then we're doing very big surveys where we're finding out kind of what does this look like in the real world? What are kids saying? What are parents saying? What are they concerned about? And kind of on your topic of is there some positive stuff here? And the answer is yes. Kids can find connection, they can find community, they can find good resources. So it's like figuring out what is that positive content and what is the things that kind of make you feel not as good. And the people we need to listen to the most about this are teenagers, our kids.
What is the right way for schools to deal with this technology? I was actually pretty dismayed to find my first grader came home just a few weeks ago with the way that the assignments were working this year.
Yeah.
And he had an app, a website that he was supposed to go to for math homework a couple times a week. And I was like, why are we already doing this on screens?
Told you it starts.
Is it a better way? Like, is he getting the information in a better way than he would on paper? I'm not a Luddite, but it just feels like, why should a first grader be using a screen for this?
Well, like multimodal learning is so important for society right now. So, I'm hoping that your first grader is also getting time to like manipulate the math concepts in the classroom and that the app is more of a reinforcement. Again, that's a positive piece of content. That's something that's going to add to his life versus kind of passively sitting and taking in something that may not be as healthy for him. So practicing your math skills at home on an app, that feels like one of those things that we want to kind of go in the right direction, even though it does feel like here they come again. My kid is only 6. Why do they have technology? It's kind of putting all the pieces together.
Dr. Sinclair, one thing I think about is people who have seats at the table on this or who want to have a seat at the table. And we certainly see the big tech leaders at the White House. They're concerned about regulatory oversight or burdens or access to markets. We see that in a big way. Are tech leaders getting involved? And the reason I bring this up, I remember doing a panel at least 10 years ago with a bunch of tech folks who said, yeah, my kid, I don't let them go on a laptop. There's no screen time for them. So I'm wondering if tech leaders are also involved in this discussion.
Yes. And actually, one of the things that's been so exciting about my work with the Digital Wellness Lab is I've gotten to be a part of some of those discussions with some of the main tech companies where we're kind of giving our insights as Boston Children's, this place where we're doing all kinds of research and clinical work on kids' behavioral health. We're able to offer that to them in terms of this is what we're concerned about. This is what we're seeing. How can you guys think about this as you're developing new technologies?
All right, we're going to leave it on that note. So glad we could bring this in because we just think as we look at all the content generation that we're hearing and all the work that folks are doing when it comes to media, sports, gaming, this is something we think about a lot. Dr. Kineisha Sinclair-McBride, she's Associate Chief of Integrated Behavioral Health at Boston Children's Hospital, also Assistant Professor of Psychology at Harvard Medical School. And right now, Tim, we've got stocks down across the board. We are 67.20 right now on the S&P 500. We're down about 12 points, and we've got, 32 points to the downside. NASDAQ 100 down about 100 points. This is Bloomberg.
You're listening to Bloomberg Businessweek Daily with Carol Masser and Tim Stenivek on Bloomberg Radio and Television.
Nailed it.
Just wait.
12 seconds. 12 seconds or less.
Everybody, you are back here on Bloomberg Businessweek Daily, live here at Bloomberg Screentime on the West Coast. Carol Masser, Tim Stenivek across Bloomberg platforms. Quick headline as we think about markets and certainly something that's front and center. U.S. Treasury intervening in Argentina, the Argentinian FX markets. That happened on Thursday, so that must be, they're talking about last week.
Yeah.
Or maybe this earlier today.
Okay. You're keeping on everything happening back in New York, which I really appreciate.
Tim has totally shifted.
We're not going back there
the
until
West
late
Coaster
tonight,
born there
yeah,
goes there.
I'm here.
Well, let's get to someone who's definitely a triple threat. We're talking about Mark Duplass. He is award-winning actor, filmmaker, producer. His company, Duplass Brothers Productions, joins us here live at Screentime. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Doing okay. I'm a big fan of the morning show. But
thank you.
You do it all. Is there one that, I'm sure you get this a million times, that you like more than most in terms of producing, directing, or do you love how everything kind of helps the other thing?
I do like the blending of all the things, and I come from the independent sector. You know, I came into this business making $3 movies in my kitchen with my brother on our parents' video camera. So I'm no stranger to doing it all, but that said, I think that as I've been fortunate enough to do both indie projects and also be on a show like the morning show, which, you know, one day's catering on that show is more expensive than most of the work I make. I like the balance. You know, I like hanging lights with my friends and sweating on my indie projects. But then I like when my burrito is brought to me in the trailer of the morning show. and I'm taken care of. So these are the
I
things.
work with someone who likes when his burrito is brought to
Who
him.
doesn't like a burrito delivery? Also a trailer, pretty nice.
Yeah.
I'm wondering about if you were getting into the business right now and how that would be different. It's like you're making movies in your kitchen with your brother, but maybe you'd be using an iPhone, you'd be editing it using AI.
I think the headline is the democratization of the technology has made it so wonderful that you can make anything you want now so much more cheaply than I had it. So you have it a lot better than me on that front, but you have it way worse than I had it in 2005 when I came in, because the distribution,
so talk about that. But
the distribution channels are not there, right? And so we're now experiencing sort of the death of the hyperbolic television movement, right? And we staffed up and we got all ready for it, and here we are, and then it just dried up on us. So now we're going to have to start hacking a new road of direct-to-consumer distribution. You know, we're working in so many different models now. We're making television series completely independently and taking them out and selling them afterwards, because it is the Wild West.
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that, because I think about something like YouTube and how much I watch YouTube and specific channels, and like anybody can put anything up there. When you think about distribution channels, Mark, what seems to provide the most opportunities for you, especially since you say you play a bit more in the indie world?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm very, very fortunate in that I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, I at least have somewhat of a name that people are interested in working with us. But I think YouTube is certainly exciting because you can put it up, it can catch fire, but the monetization of that and sustainability is really questionable in my opinion. But then you have these smaller sub-streamer services, like you look at Dropout TV and what they're doing in comedy, and you look at Shudder. You know, they've become the home of horror fans. It's a subsidiary under AMC. You know, and they're doing things in a low-cost model. So I think the future here is going to be figuring out how to make things relatively cheaply, cutting your big producer fees, cutting a lot of everybody's fee across the board, and then when you're in a position to be on top in power, really share that back end with people. And that's how I came up in independent film. We would make movies for $150,000. Everybody would make $100 a day. It was creative communism. And then you get points. We could take them to Sundance and sell them for a couple $1 million. And the sound guy would make $50,000 and buy a home. It was a beautiful time. It's not quite that easy anymore, but there's something in that model that will still work.
I talked to somebody who lives out here. He's in the industry. He's been doing this for 30 years. And he was like, I've got award-winning casting directors walking dogs on Rover to make ends meet.
No, it's real.
Is it that bad?
I mean, I live in the Valley, which is, you know, the place where basically below-the-line union heads were able to buy their homes, you know, and that was under the sort of unspoken promise that this industry would continue to boom. Strikes, fires, but not just that. The death of the streaming wars, which were unsustainable that was just an arms race to see
so Netflix won,
who could choke
Apple
somebody
won.
out, right?
Netflix and Apple are the winners?
I mean, TBD, because we could see a merger happen in 5 minutes after this that changes everything. And there are, I won't go that far, but yes, there are certain people that have interest in those mergers and don't have interest in them.
So do you see the industry getting better?
I think the industry is going to change. Look, I've been in this for 20 years. I know people who are been in this for much longer than me, and there are times when, oh my God, it was the 1980s. If you had a movie that had, you know, a gun and blood and some fighting in it, you could take it to VHS and you'd make your money, and it was a killer. In the 90s, it was that for DVDs. In the 2000s, the streamers came in, and I got to make all these cool movies for Netflix and TV. But it's going to change. We don't know which way it's going, but we got to be vigilant.
You know, we've seen it in the media industry, and we still like being in it. It's incredible to be 30 seconds. You're still having fun. You like it.
I love it. I don't say I'm having fun all the time. I feel a deep responsibility for like my brothers and sisters in LA and in New York and everywhere who are just getting choked out by this business. So I'm trying to find what is that thin lane that I still want to make outlier, interesting content, but at the right price that makes sense and sustains us. And I don't have all the answers for that.
So appreciate you joining us. I know you're going up on a panel. Looking forward to hearing that as well. Mark, thank you so much.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, take care. Mark Duplass joining us right here, of course, on Bloomberg Businessweek Daily. All right, for those of you who are watching on TV, the close is coming your way in just a moment. Continue to track some of the top business stories. We are continuing here at Screentime.
We got a great couple hours here. We are talking food. We are talking creators. We are talking everything at Screentime.